We all know as a practice owner, one of the last things you want to think about is tax planning and strategizing for your practice. In addition, the long list of tasks on your radar, it's really hard to do everything. You have to find a trustworthy team of experts that understands the unique and specific needs within veterinary medicine. My suggestion would be my friends at Granite Peak Associates. Granite Peak is an advanced tax planning and veterinary practice advisory firm who has spent many years working within vet med. Their team works year-round to make sure you're able to maximize your profitability while also minimizing your liabilities. Whether you're in the process of purchasing a practice, looking to grow your practice, or transitioning towards the sale of your practice, they are the experts to help guide you through. What makes them different than other firms is their devotion to proactive tax planning. By thinking into the future and creating long-lasting relationships with their clients, Granite Peak can help minimize the amount of taxes paid over the course of many years to come. Head over to their website, granitepeakcpa.com, to receive a personalized comparison of your practice financials against over 140 other hospitals that they've worked with. You'll be able to see how your practice ranks, where you stack up, and where the opportunities are to get better. From there, you can schedule a one-on-one call with one of the members of their team to review and analyze your results. The opportunity speaks for itself. You need someone on your side. Granite Peak Associates is that team. Take advantage of their innovative expertise within the veterinary industry. Discover the nation's fastest growing practice management software. Who, you might ask? It's my friends at Shepherd Veterinary Software. Founded by a practicing veterinarian, Shepherd is easy to learn and works the way you work. Shepherd automatically updates the medical records, adds services to the invoice, generates discard instructions, and so much more. It's time to bring home more stories and less stress. Learn more today at www.shepherd.vet. Recruiting team members in your veterinary practice has never been this hard. You can either bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away or adapt. Enter Guardian Vets. By leveraging best-in-class technology, you can empower your staff and reduce their workload. Help reduce burnout. You also provide a better experience for your clients and patients, which you want to do as you serve them. The solutions Guardian Vets offers includes after-hours triage, virtual CSRs, that know your team and processes, telemedicine, and so much more. Become the employer of choice in your area by offering the best tools to position your team for success. Whether you're starting a de novo, clinic, multi-doctor, or multi-location, Guardian Vets can help you be more efficient and effective. Go to their website, guardianvets.com, click the Get Started button, then let them know that I sent you, right? Let them know the Vet Success Podcast sent you. Get 50% off your first month. Don't let another quarter or year happen before you start making changes, because you know you need to. So talk to the Guardian Vets team today and implement a new solution. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another radio show. And this one is basically tying in the idea of, myself being extremely bullish or optimistic or excited for veterinary medicine and small business ownership, as much as there's been lots of conversation on this podcast, off this podcast, all over the place around corporate versus private. There's going to be room for both, and there will be, from my perspective, for a long time. And one of the interesting conversations I've had recently is with one of the larger, lenders. And if I said the name, you would be like, oh yeah, I've worked with them or have a loan with them, right? It's very much a household name when it comes to veterinary lending. And, the individual has worked in the space for a long time. And, 10 years ago, it was 2/3 of their business was acquisition loans. So private to private, young veterinarian graduating, working for someone, maybe they're acquiring that practice or another one. And that was the setup. And maybe a third was kind of other things. And part of that would have been startup loans. Well, that's flipped, where basically 2/3 of their business today is lending into the startup environment, which is, to me, not a surprise, right? As multiples have been extremely high, it's gotten really expensive. It's hard to go acquire, especially the really strong practices, as a private practice owner or an individual that's aspiring to be an owner. You just have kind of gone this way of starting your own thing. And from those conversations and from a lot of different things, basically the project, and I did a podcast a handful of episodes back with Bobby Lind, who is my business partner in Pinpoint. And basically Pinpoint was created for this exact reason. And so I'm going to I'm not going to be shy about saying, I think one of the number one things that you can do when it comes to doing a startup is ensuring you have good quality information to stack as much of the odds on your side of the table as you can, because there's going to be challenges and there's going to be mistakes that you make. But darn it, if you know A, what the market is, and B, that you have a really good location, shoot, that solves a lot of issues. And so absolutely, yes, it is a self-interested, promotion, call it on the podcast. But I want to go back through and actually show a couple different things, because I know Bobby and I talked about it, but I want to just focus specifically on startups, knowing that, hey, a lot of this audience, yes, there's some owners, yes, there's some people that are already out there, but a lot of folks that are, wanting and aspiring to be practice owners. And so I'm speaking specifically to those folks. It can also apply if I'm an owner and wanting to open a satellite location, a second location, acquire. But again, I'm going to speak directly to aspiring de novo startup veterinary practice owners. So if that's not you and you're like, I don't really care, I want to tell you up front, that's who I'm going to be talking to. Go check out another great podcast and go from there, right? If it's not of something that's of interest. And with that, I've had a lot of questions of like, well, should I do anything because of the election or because of the dynamics of inflation or these other things? It's always going to never be the right time to start a business. I will tell you that right now. It's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be some unknown. If you have all the green lights showing, it's too late. It's never going to be that way, right? It's going to be so competitive. And typically, yes, I do think, the election will make some difference. I think there's one candidate that is significantly better than the other one. I'm not going to, tick off the audience by going into, a political rant, as we're, not quite a week away from November 5th from that standpoint. But with that, either way, whoever is elected, it's not going to take away the demand, the opportunity, and the ability to open up a very successful veterinary hospital or clinic, right? Like that's not changing. So with that, I wanted to kind of go in and show you some of the big pieces. And I think there's really two big pieces. The first is what location? And then the second being, okay, how do I understand the market? And I'm not going to go through everything that we do. I'm going to give you a high level kind of discussion on it. If you want to see sample reports, you can reach out to hello@pinpointmypractice.com. I'll send those reports off to you. You can also go to the website, pinpointmypractice.com, and download those. It's really easy to see the information and go through all those reports. I'm not going to go through them all here and record that for you, because I think it's not really a useful piece of time. And if you are driving and let's say you can't watch, I'm going to talk through some of this as well. And so with that, let's check out this piece right here. So what we're looking at right now is just basically the Google Earth view of Indianapolis and kind of central Indiana. Well, I know the central Indiana area really well. And so I'm going to pick another place. So one of my favorite places, right? Gainesville, Florida. I've been a longtime Florida Gator fan since I was a little kid. In the background, you can see there's a little, picture that was given to me as a gift. That's the swamp, right? And so that is a place that I know nothing about the environment other than the University of Florida. I know they have an awesome veterinary medical school and have lots of good stuff going on there. So I'm going to use this. I've never ran this. I'm just going to do this live as we go through it. So if I'm looking at Gainesville and I'm saying, I want to be in Gainesville because it's, the best place to be, right? And I say that tongue in cheek because there's a lot of people that would be like, heck no, I would never want to be in Gainesville. So what we can do, and what's really interesting with a lot of the data, is you can actually then say, okay, well, let's see where are the veterinarians at today. And so all the V's that you see on the screen, those are all the veterinary hospitals that are currently in existence that are opened. And I can click on one and I can say, okay, who is it? So this one is Millhopper Veterinary. They probably are awesome, right? Probably a great place, just like all these. So I'm not going to come in here and say, oh, this one stinks, this one doesn't. You might know who's a better operator, better business owner, and who's not. And this will be both corporate and private. If there's something that's ever missing, we'd want to know that, right? So we can update that data. We're never going to be perfect with pulling all that. Could be someone like you or me. Let's say if I'm a veterinarian that just opened up and maybe hasn't pooled and got that data updated, there might be a new startup in a certain area. Well, the other thing is, it's really interesting is we use some data with the reporting that we do, and it is all around looking at the Experian data. And so for those that aren't familiar, Experian is the credit agency and has a lot of information around who we are. And so Experian breaks down all individuals and categorizes them in 71 different groups. And so there's going to be certain groups of people that are more prone to be pet owners, which is your ideal client. And the other thing they need to be able to do is they need to pay for your services. And I know there are lots of folks that may be listening, or you might share this with someone else, that will say, well, I want to serve a certain population. That's awesome. And what we can do, and what we actually do for, the report structure that we do for startups, we'll actually ask you a series of questions, and you can design your ideal client based on the Experian, what they call mosaics, or these different category types, and say, this is exactly who I want to serve. This is my population. And the really cool thing is then you can actually see if those people live in your area. So I had a good example. I ran a report, one of the first reports that we did for a current existing practice owner, and she was in New York. And for her, she wanted to serve a population that literally didn't exist in her area. She was a little bit more rural, and that population just wasn't there. And so is that good information? Absolutely. She's not going to change her marketing strategy, the verbiage, how she does things to attract an audience that literally doesn't exist in her drive time. So she wanted to look at 20 minutes, literally was 200 people. That's not enough. That's really hard to attract, someone that is 0.01% of the population in that area, which is really, really tricky. And so looking at the mosaics, you might think like, okay, what does it make up? So the 71 different profiles, and they're broken down by demographics, socioeconomics, location, financial measures, and property characteristics. So you can say, I want homeowners, I want them to make a certain amount of money, I want them to work a certain job, they live in this area, age, marital status, kids, no kids, what languages they speak. If you wanted to serve a certain population that speaks a different language, or if you have that skill set, you're like, hey, I want to serve a population that speaks Spanish because I speak Spanish and I know that is a strength of mine. Awesome. Let's show you where those people live. And so with the Experian mosaics, everything then is broke down. And I love this chart. And I give a lot of credit to Bobby. And again, if you haven't listened to the episode with Bobby, we do a big kind of overview of all the different pieces of what we can do at Pinpoint. Again, this is specifically thinking for a lot of startups, is you can then see the categorization of who you want to serve. So this shows high income at the top, low income at the bottom. Now, you might want to serve a more low income group and cohort. That's going to be an uphill battle. But if you want to serve those people, you can find exactly who they are. And you might say, I want young families that are lower income. Okay, so we go over here to the left side. So maybe the O's, some M's. That might be your kind of cohort, and you get into the F22s, and you can do that. Versus someone else that's like, I want to make sure they can pay for my services. I want a really high-end concierge version. You might say, I need the high income. I need the A's, the B's, the C's, and maybe a couple D's, maybe this G24, but it's probably A's and B's and some C's, right? So boomers over here, higher income folks here that are, between ages, right? Between young and old. And it just really helps frame what it means when you see these different populations. And so what is really cool with that, Experian knows, because of every credit card swipe that we do, where and how we spend, right? With that, they can then say, okay, A05 is a veterinary client. And that is an ideal client because of these reasons. They have pets typically, they spend money on pets. And so that's a good client for veterinary services. And then they can show you that. So if I go back to my map of Gainesville and show you that, let's jump in and actually start to show what it could look like. So I come into Gainesville. I know, again, all the V's are those that are current veterinary hospitals or clinics. I can then say, show me, and I already have a lot of this stuff pre-populated, where are the ideal veterinary clients in Gainesville? And so I can then start to overlay, and what this is doing is taking that Experian data and saying every single dot is a household that would be a good veterinary client. And so I can see, where is it denser? Where is it maybe a little bit more sparse? And where are the veterinary hospitals located? And then where do I want to be? And so, like, one example, I can see up here at, zoom in here a little bit. Whoops. And the map will load as I zoom. But it seems like up here by this Publix, and you got a lot of folks up through this area. So we got 222 running here. This might be a nice area. Yeah, there's a couple different veterinary clinics, and there's a lot down here. But this is a fairly dense area of kind of the ideal veterinary clients through this little cohort. And you could say, well, maybe it's actually too saturated. And The other thing could be, well, okay, I can kind of narrow it down, but maybe I have a location specifically I want to run. And that's where we can do this kind of site score. And I have this site score for an area in Carmel in Indiana. So again, it's not necessarily Gainesville. I ran this prior to us jumping onto this recording, this podcast, right? And the nice thing is, and we talked about this before, you can actually score each site to say, is this a good site or a bad site? And so you could look at what's my available opportunities within Gainesville, and I could pick a couple locations, one location, whatever you want to do, and say, okay, maybe I look here, it's denser. I want to be right at this intersection here. It seems like it's really good, and maybe there's opportunities. This probably is all residential, right? And so there's going to be things that you need to understand, like where are the properties actually located? And that's where having someone boots in the ground that does, veterinary real estate, that understands your industry is important. But then you can look at, okay, what is my site score? So this site score is 16% higher than the average. Average is 100. Anything under 100 is worse. Not saying you can't be successful, but anything above it, that's good. Again, stacking the odds in your favor. And so you can look at how many core patients, again, these are people that would want to come and give you business when it comes to veterinary services, expenditure on vet services. So they're spending $368. The average is $277. Max is $454. It's pretty good. Hey, population growth. We love to see that. That means we're in an area that's going to continue to grow. 8.6. That's really strong. I can look at down here, veterinary facilities, 25 in this area, 20 minutes. There's 25 of them. The max is 51 because we're comparing to other locations with a very similar, what we call urban density score. We're taking other veterinary hospitals and saying all their sites, we're going to aggregate those, compare, contrast, and say, what's this new potential site location score? It's really good. The challenge is it's how many core households per veterinarian in the area. It's a little light, right? So 583. That's saying 583 families for your specific site if it was all kind of evenly distributed. The max is 2,300. The average of all the different 50 hospitals we're comparing against is 956. So we're a little bit on the lower end there. And so that would definitely be kind of like one of those strikes against us. But a lot of core patient scores. So there's a lot of folks there. They spend a lot. They're growing. And that growth will continue to help your hospital. If you do a good job, you are going to get referrals from just the growth in the area. And so I could do that in Gainesville with any location and say, you know what? Tell me about this location. Tell me about Timberview Pet Clinic. And if anyone knows the folks at Timberview, we could run that exact score on them. I didn't want to do it on any specific hospital. I did a sample site. I didn't want to do it in Gainesville and like pick on or tell someone like, hey, your site's not great, right? But you could look at any city and from a bird's eye view say, hey, there's some density here. Why is there only a handful of veterinarians here and veterinarians here? Why isn't there anyone in the middle, right? Hey, there's this Publix market right there in the middle. Maybe in the strip center, maybe we should try to figure out how we could put our hospital right here because it seems to be right in that mix with lots of other veterinarians. And it would be kind of on its own spot, but it seems fairly dense with my ideal client. Now, again, if I wanted to say I only want, the A's, so A01 through A06, I could actually come in here and say, you know what? Show me where they are. A01, A02, A03, A04, A05, A06. If that was just, let's say my score came through, I said, this is my population. I want to see those folks. Show me where they're at. And it'll take it a second for it to load. But let's take a peek at where they reside. And so we're going to start to see that populate. And in Gainesville specifically, right? And I actually didn't know this because I'm doing a lot of this on the fly, which is always dangerous when you record something. And this is going to be my first take, my only take, because I don't re-record podcasts. Hey, that area with the Publix where I kind of joked that I should build down there, I really like it. It's better than this area up here we looked at earlier because the density of higher income folks is down here and out here. So if I was looking at building a hospital and doing a de novo startup, I would be looking out here. And Publix, again, one of my favorite grocery stores. I wish we had them up here in Indiana. We don't. This might be really nice to try to get close to that because that's going to drive a lot of demand anyways from that standpoint. And what it does show me is they aren't up here. They aren't over here. So, if that's your ideal client, I don't want to build over there. I don't want to look for spots over there. And what this can do is save you so much time because maybe there's some really good commercial space over here. It's like, hey, there's not as much competition. This is a good spot. It's near downtown. Like all these things where you can look at the demographics and it might look good enough, but it's not where you want to be. And again, if you're going to spend $1 million plus when you factor in interest payments, the loan, all the stuff you're doing, why wouldn't you want the information before you break ground, before you start paying all those folks, to have the data to ensure that you're in the right spot and you can serve the right people? And that's what Pinpoint does. That's what we do. And again, shameless plug, I don't care, because this is something that's needed. And the more conversations I have with industry professionals and folks that have been on this podcast that I refer all kinds of veterinarians to that have had, a lot of success working with them, say the same thing. They're like, wow, this is really good information. We've needed this for a while. I'm glad it's here, basically. And so I am not going to be shy about telling people, you need to use this. And if you know someone that is thinking about going through this, let them know, because this is extremely valuable and can save a lot of heartache and a lot of money, candidly. Because if you can get open sooner, you can be more profitable sooner. Those are all things that take off stress, right? We want to take stress away. And so upfront, if you're willing to spend, less than $1,000 to get some really good information, and it depends on how you want to do this. So like our most expensive report is still under $1,000. And we're not trying to say this is going to be something that we're going to make our millions on, right? This is an idea of taking really good information that already exists for big corporates. They are using information like this to determine where they want to locate. We want to make it and bring it downstream, democratize the access to this data so that you can build your hospital or create your business in a way that gives the advantages to yourself. And that to me is really important. And it's fantastic information. So as you think through what you want to do, how you want to do it, know, as a de novo startup, this is one of the tools. To me, I think it's one of the most important tools. It is one decision that you can make, and then you're done, right? Then you need the awesome CPA, which again, Granite Peak Advisors, I've talked to him. I'm gonna have Jared on the podcast now that tax extensions and all the tax stuff is done. He'll be on here before the end of the year to talk before things get ramped back up. Attorneys, Justin Weaver has been on the podcast. Amazing. Like there's so many other people that will then be, relationships that will continue into the future. Good financial advisors. I know lots of them, the Veterinary Financial Advisor Network. Those are people those are relationships you keep into the future. This is, again, a season, a moment in time, right? That you need this report. It is a transaction. It is something you get, you acquire, you make the decision, and you move on. That's great. We want to play a small role in the success of a hospital for a long time, but by starting out early in the journey. And this is something where I've talked to some startups that have already made all their decisions and looked at the data. And it's like, interesting. I didn't know that. Maybe I wouldn't have picked this location, or maybe I would have thought slightly different about it. But it's not that they are in a bad location. It is, I might have thought about it slightly different if I would have known this going into it. And again, you spend so much money with a startup. Make sure that you're doing it in a way that makes a lot of sense when you can determine and actually, again, stack the odds of success on your side of the table. And that to me is super, super important. And so, yeah, with this, kind of the Gainesville approach of just looking at a city, we can do this for any city. And so if there's a specific area that someone wants to see, and if you're just like, hey, I want to know in this metro area where I should build, those are conversations that we can have. I mean, there are reports that we can run that can kind of show that. Like, I want to be in maybe this place or this place. That's kind of a location comparison. It's going to be less on than the traditional market. But typically, if someone says in a certain city they want a market analysis, you can get that and then know where the right site is in that city as well. So with that, it's a shorter episode. Hopefully, it helps explain a little bit better the different pieces. Again, I'll show you the website. So pinpointmypractice.com. If you come in here, you can go up to pricing and it will show you all the different reports. So comprehensive, this is the one that has the site selection and the market analysis. It's going to give everything in one. You can also order them individually. You do get a discount if you buy it jointly together. If you want location comparison, hey, I want to look at 3 locations. I want some information. I'm just trying to scout it out. I'm not sure. That's a great report. Client insights, that's kind of mobile analytics, really good data, very good for existing practices to understand who your current clients are, who's coming into your practice today, where are they coming from, and being able to create some marketing around it, I think is really, really cool. The last thing, and people will love this, right? You can go and check out and have the ability to get a discount of 10% when you pay with Bitcoin. And so I've talked about on this podcast, and I'll offer it again. If you email and reference this episode, I will give you a 10% discount on any report. And then if you pay with Bitcoin, you're going to get an additional 10%. So you can save 20% on a report. And you can even do it by never owning Bitcoin yourself. And so there's a tool out here called Strike. I walk through it. It's pretty easy. You connect a bank account, you go through onboarding within 5 or 10 minutes. You can pay for the report, you get the discount. You might say, hey, Isaiah, that's cool. Whatever. I don't like Bitcoin. I don't really care about Bitcoin. That's there. But what we try to do, and what I wanted to do is say, I've heard too many people say, well, I can't buy anything with Bitcoin. I can't use Bitcoin for anything. Well, guess what? You can have a kick-ass report that'll tell you where to build your veterinary hospital using Bitcoin. It's here, right? So I believe, and Bobby believes, this is better money, so we're willing to accept it. And you know what? We like it so much, we're even going to give you a discount just to encourage you to do it. And there's even really good Bitcoin resources. Welcome to Bitcoin, right? Here's a great course if you want to learn about Bitcoin. Awesome, great. Hey, the Bitcoin Standard, great book if you want to read it. So we want you to understand it as well, because I think as a small business owner, you have the ability to incorporate Bitcoin into it. But you might say, I don't care about any of that. Just give me the discount, and incentives drive everything. It'll be the same way in your hospital. If you accept Bitcoin, people might not care, but you know what they do care? Saving money. And that is something that we feel like we can do by accepting Bitcoin. So just wanted to let you know that. And if you go through and click Start My Report, this will actually walk you through the website checkout. It'll be name, what report, all that other stuff. It'll take you then to our checkout, and it'll show you credit card, ACH, or paying in Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin discount automatically applies if you pay that way. So with that, check it out. Go into the website. It'll walk you through everything. If you want sample reports, happy to send those. If you want the discount, 10%, reach out to me and I will add an additional 10% discount and send you that invoice directly. If you're not sure what report you need and you're listening to this, but you're like, hey, I'm not a startup, but I want XYZ information, always reach out. Let me know what you need. We feel like from conversations, we know what templates and kind of what reports are going to be the most meaningful for people in different stages of their career and what they're looking for. But yeah, that is a little bit more about Pinpoint. Yes, I'm bringing it up again. Yes, I have a vested interest, and my vested interest is to make sure that you have an awesome location for your hospital and have a business that can be a really good resource for something that doesn't exist. And I don't know why it hasn't existed, but it is here now, and we're here to help. So with that, have a great one. Let me know what else there is top of mind. You can always reach out to me at Isaiah at the Veterinarian Success Podcast. hello@pinpointmypractice.com is where you can send any questions on specific reports for Pinpoint. And as always, I'm on social media, so you can find me there, ping me. I'm not going to be hard to find from that standpoint. But all the best, and we'll talk soon. All right, so there are a lot of great job postings that I want to get to. And so we're going to start off with Bayside Hospital for Animals. Great work-life balance in beautiful Fort Walton Beach, Florida. No weekends, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, no on-call or emergencies. It's an appointment only here. Currently a 2.5 doctor practice, new owner in 2021, bringing some fresh life into the hospital. The new owner had been there for 6 years prior working, so definitely understands the team, the processes, and the community. Lots of investment in people and new equipment. ProSal is the pay structure. Far too many benefits for me to list. Email BaysideVet251 at Yahoo or call 850-864-1857. Join a thriving, growing small animal practice in Vermont on the Quebec border. Full-time ideal, part-time is considered. The idea is to start with yes with the team, patients and clients, and outdoorsmen or outdoor woman's paradise while being able to practice high-quality medicine. Compensation is write your own structure within production capabilities. Literally, it is the owner wants to find the right person and is happy to negotiate, chat through, and find the right fit. If you want autonomy and a boss that enjoys teaching, reach out to Newport Veterinary Hospital. You can email newportveterinaryhospital@gmail.com. North Central Indiana, looking for an oasis in the chaos. You know, who isn't, right? Come join the amazing team at Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. They strive to foster a fun, fast-paced work environment while providing quality patient care. They utilize the support staff efficiently so that the doctor is available to practice medicine and do what you're trained to do in less time and paperwork, which is great. Lots of investment in new equipment and technology to support you, full-time or part-time available. Small animal and exotics are both seen there, so no ER, no on-call, no weekends, competitive salary with sign-on bonus offered, and far too many benefits to list. Go to Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. So type that in and you'll find the job posting there. Last but not least, join Watertown Animal Hospital. Personable small animal veterinarian wanted for well-established current 5-doctor mixed animal practice in northern New York, which is an outdoors person's paradise. Again, 2 of those. So if you like the outdoors, you can look at Vermont or New York. They have plenty of support staff with 6 CSRs, 6 licensed technicians, 4 animal caretakers, 2 technical assistants, a hospital assistant, a practice manager, and a bookkeeper. Focuses on mentorship and investment on the people and the technology. That's been a strategic initiative by the leadership team. No on-call, 24-hour ER less than an hour away. Salary based on experience, but no less than $95,000. Can be straight salary, pro-sal considered. Want to discuss that with the right person. Tons of benefits. Again, too much to list. Please reach out to watertownpetcare.com for that option as well. So again, if you find a role or a job or talk to anyone and it helps you in any way, I would love to hear that feedback. So please reach out. Let me know what you're able to do. And I will continue to post these. So if you are an owner, reach out to me, let me know. And we'll go from there. And until I hit a capacity of I can't keep recording these, I want to let people know who are high quality owners around the country looking for great help. So with that, we'll talk soon. Thanks for listening to today's show. The comments made on today's show should not be taken as investment, tax, or legal advice. All comments are for educational purposes only. You should talk to your professional team before implementing anything. If you want or need financial advice, my day job on Not Podcasting is helping veterinarians grow their net worth. Our team is taking new clients, and we are ready to talk to you at any stage of life. Come as you are. I always say, bring the mess, right? Like if things are unorganized, that's okay. There's no prerequisites to become a client. Isaiah Douglas is a partner at Vincier Wealth Management. Isaiah is a registered investment advisor, registered with the SEC. The biggest compliment you can give me in the podcast is to share it with a friend. Reviews help the show get found, and Apple Podcast is the platform that is predominantly used for people listening to the show. If you have 3 minutes, love the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, give us an honest rating and review. It helps more people find the show. Also, the new YouTube channel is up, and I'd love to have you subscribe. Vainly, I want 100 subscribers at least. Lots more, obviously, right? But I get a vanity URL if we get to 100. That would be great. It makes it easier to find the YouTube channel as well. For all of today's links, information, head over to the veterinariansuccesspodcast.com. There you can subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform. It'll be a link to that YouTube channel I just talked about. You won't miss any other episodes, whether you list on Spotify, whether you have some other ancillary podcast platform. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. It certainly does help. I appreciate it. Finally, if you want more information, insights, want your voice to be heard, want to share ideas for content, say, hey, Isaiah, I want you to have this guest. I want you to talk about this topic. Go over to the Facebook group. So you can search for the Veterinarian Success Podcast on Facebook or head over to veterinariansuccesspodcast.com, scroll to the bottom about your host, click on the Facebook icon, and that'll get you in the group. But thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me to be able to see the podcast grow and continue to impact people. So with that, until next time, we'll chat soon.